Today is all about getting the outdoor Christmas decor out of storage, getting it ready, putting it up, adding a few new things like this lit star that I'm gonna see from my office window, and getting out my sleigh, everything else. I thought I'd take you along for the ride, show you kind of the nuts and bolts of what I put together, the extension cord process, things like that, so we can kind of go over some of the fun stuff and maybe even enjoy some lights. It's not every day, or every year I should say, that we get such a beautiful day in November that gives us the opportunity to work on some outdoor Christmas stuff. And I think it's really fun to be able to take you along. Every year I put outdoor Christmas stuff up and I usually feel like I'm such in a hurry or doing it on a cold day. I run and do it and then I get so many questions that I'm glad I can actually make a video on it and kind of show you, this is gonna be a very casual video. Things are a mess. I am not gonna do everything like, fresh cut greens, I'm not putting out yet, it's too early. But we are in November and we have right now, what is the temperature? It is 57 degrees outside, sunny, beautiful, very minimal breeze. So it's the perfect day to put some stuff out. That doesn't mean we need to have the lights on yet, but if you know me, you do know I love lights. So I want to show you a couple things I'm adding this year. We're going to get out the sleigh. We're going to have some reindeer that come out. We're going to put up the garlands around the doorways I do on my front porch and front entry. All those things are going to come out. So I'm going to start here with, I'm in my back, as you saw in the beginning there, that beautiful wreath. And I want to show you what I'm doing and how I'm putting it together. Because my second floor remodel, my office looks now out my window onto this back garden shed, I call it. It's a garage / garden shed. And I look right out onto a blank white wall. And during the winter here, and as it gets dark, really early, 4:35, it's like, hey, I want something to look at that's pretty, that looks nice, and that feels warm and cozy during the season. So I found the answer. And I did a little bit of like riggy jig to make sure I could get electric up to it. It's safe though, don't worry, so I'll show you. So what I have in front of me is an artificial wreath. It's a very old one, it's somewhat faded, but that's perfect because this is on a south side of a building where it's gonna fade really bad year to year. I have a star that I bought this year, and what I like about it is it uses larger bulbs, so it's gonna have a little bit more of a pop, and you're gonna be able to see it better. It's LED bulbs, so they're cool to touch, but also don't take a lot of electricity, which is really nice. So if you notice, I'm putting it up here, and I will get up there and show you what I have ready to go once we put this up there, so it can just be hung. You see the cord hanging, but I'll show you how I have it there. To start, what I'm doing is I'm gonna place this around a wreath. And the reason I'm doing this on a wreath is because I want it to kind of look better than just a big black star against that white shed. So I'm gonna make sure all these bulbs are pointed out right now. I just bought this online. I really like it. There's a lot of different types of stars, obviously. You could find whatever one you like better. What I am gonna do is make sure I hide the black cord behind this. Also, this wreath, it is backed in felt. That's just so it doesn't hopefully scratch the shed as bad. The shed does need to be painted on some certain sides and the roof, but we're not gonna do that right now, so I do have it felt back just to save it. Now, what I have is some zip ties. I'm gonna save this year to year and just use it as is, so I'm gonna zip tie the wreath right to it, to the actual star itself, to make sure it stays together. So down here, I'm just gonna take my zip ties and go back through. Now you could just zip tie on this one to the actual one of the pieces if you want to, or you could go all the way to the wire back. I'm gonna see how far back I'd have to go to actually get to the wire. And as I'm doing that, I find there is a wire actually sitting here that I don't want. That was probably used to hang it at one time, and this would actually scratch that metal siding, so I'm gonna take that off, not have that there. I probably will use 2 of these just to make sure I don't have to put it on here too deep, and then go back to one of the wires. So using these black zip ties against the black star will just mean we don't see any of it, which is really nice. So you can see I'm just zip tying it on. This is gonna make sure it doesn't fall. In the past, I have done so many things where I maybe don't do it the proper way. Like maybe don't use zip ties. Make sure to trim them off too so you don't see those ugly tails. But when you're doing it, might as well just do it right the first time. So it's not like windy out one night, which it will be, and you're not running out because you see this is about to fall, only to run out and find you missed it and it did fall. That's happened to me. And so now I try to make sure before I put things up, I take a little bit more time to actually make sure I'm doing it properly, because then we don't run into that issue. So now, as I'm holding it, these 2 alone would probably be good enough because we're not going to be, that's actually perfect. So now we can actually just put it up there and get it all put together. Before I bring the wreath up, I wanted to show you. I have a big stainless steel hook in here, so it won't rust. I'm just gonna leave it here year to year. You really don't notice it down from the yard. Now what you're gonna see underneath the soffit is really the old original wood. This is a very old barn. And so it's really chippy paint anyway. So what I did was brought a heavy duty outdoor extension cord, and I just used electrical staple nails with the plastic, and that just is going all the way down the eave, and it's gonna be hidden around the corner down going into a plug-in. So I'll either take this down every year or I will tack this up under the eave so you don't see it. Because one way or the other, that eave hides out here and you don't see it. So I'm gonna have this white one having to come down during Christmas because I'm not gonna put a huge hole in the side, which would be a weather, issue. I'm gonna keep this here, and then I'm gonna be able just to hang the wreath and attach this. So I'm gonna go up and actually hang this up. I want to show you what I'm doing behind the big cord that comes with it, which I think has a self-timer in it. You know what, I just remember, this actually comes with a remote now that I remember. So I can decide how to and when. You're gonna all ask me. I don't know, they could run out of these by the time this video posts or even soon, so that's why I never really say. But what we're gonna do, it's from Terrain, which I love Shop Terrain. I think they have such cool stuff. Not sponsored at all, I just really enjoy their things. What I'm gonna do is take it up there and we're gonna plug it in and I'm gonna hang it. What I want to make sure is that I hide the cord as much as possible. So I'm going to first plug it in back here, which that's why I had all of this ready to go with my plug here, which is gonna be hard for you to see, I know, but if we put it right in, perfect. There. Now I wanna make sure all my bulbs are in the right direction. Now I don't have this plugged inside yet, so that's why it's not on. But what I can do then is hang it on this hook, which that hook is so heavy duty that it goes right around that ring. I could zip tie it to the hook, but I don't think I need to. The important part is making sure the star is pointed in the right direction. So like I said, you're going to see the white cord. I can't hide that. What I can make sure is that my black cord underneath is as hidden as possible. So I'm gonna twist that around and make sure that's hidden, which it is. And now, I think when I come out and get this finished, we'll be able to take this ladder away and this will be perfectly hung. So let me come down, take this ladder, and that's gonna be perfect. Now I'll show you at night too, because I think at night, obviously, you're gonna get a much better visual for how it looks. But you're gonna notice too, it's an off-center building. Like it's asymmetrical, so you can't hang it in the exact center. You can hang it in the center of the peak, and that's what I'm doing. So we'll show it again a little later, I'm going to, so you can see it lit up. We're now up by the front door, and that's what I'm mostly going to focus on here in this video. I've gotten most of the items out, not everything. Obviously this is the front yard, so I'm going to be close to the road in front of my house, which means you're going to hear everything. And it's a beautiful day, like I said, so there's going to be motorcycles, tractors, who knows what. So what I have is everything in front of me that you can't see at the moment. The reindeer and I, they're just eating from the grass right now. We brought up the sleigh already. I'll show you more close up those wicker reindeer. There's something I put out every year that I really enjoy. But what I'm gonna first show is some garland going up. Now, I have faux garland. There is a good, I feel like, argument to be had for both real and faux garland. The reason I do fake is I tried real garland one year. This is all on the south side where I have doorways. And that year, it was beautiful garland. It was fresh garland. I got the deluxe roping. I even zhuzhed it up with extra pine cones and berries. It was beautiful. It was on the south side. And yeah, it was slightly warm a few days and it just fried like a week into December. So I instead got some faux garland. This is years old. We're going probably on year 6 with this garland, and I'm gonna keep it until it is completely faded or it all falls apart, because even fake garland does dry out eventually. Dry out's a bad word. It does eventually go brittle and start breaking and falling off. But I do reuse it every year. Some of it is a little bit more faded than others, because like this doorway behind me is more exposed. So you can see Kip, this is what he He likes to just kind of be front and center there. So what I'm going to do is show you how I hang it, because that's a big question. And I'm going to admit, it's no secret, it's not those reusable stick hooks. I've tried those in the past and they only fall off. I have tried the heavy duty ones. I have tried all weather ones. I have tried double strips. They fall off. So I'm going to go through what I do now that's more permanent, but really you don't see it through the year. So we'll go kind of focus on the more front porch door, but I'll show you here how I store it and how I'm opening it all up too. I think this is, I'm just going to be honest, this is real life here, people. This is how I get stuff out of the shed. This is what it looks like. You know, I am not someone that only tries to promote the pretty, the social media worthy. This is just how it looks when I'm getting stuff out. There's lots of extension cords because I do not have plugins everywhere outside. I run extension cords. I put my faux garland in big tubs just to keep it somewhat less dusty during the winter. So obviously once it is in here, it is going to you know, be rounded up and I'm gonna have to bring it out. But what I first wanna show you before I even get it out and bring it up is, isn't that a picture perfect thing with Kip? Is obviously I have it hung and I have 3 strands. These, if I remember right, are all 6-foot strands, but what I'll show you as we go over here to the front porch, this is where the sleigh is. You can see everything is a clean slate right now, but this is the front door we're gonna focus on. And right here, you're gonna see I have 3 stainless steel hooks. They stay up there year round. They're one of those things that, yes, they're unsightly and yet at the same time you don't notice them. They could be painted white. They are stainless steel, so they won't rust. But I do this, I need to wash my door. You guys are just seeing the real life here. I'm doing this because I was tired of them falling off. I was tired of them getting knocked over by the weather. This makes sure that they don't. So I hang 1 from each side and then have 1 that goes over the top of the crown and hangs down a little bit more. So we'll go get them out and start putting them up. I'm gonna start by putting some up and then I'll bring you in closer to see what I'm doing. Like I said, there's 3 pieces here and I keep them together as best I can, but then they will fall apart somewhat. But they have little pieces of wire on the ends, and that's what I attach to the actual hook itself. So I can hook these little pieces, and you can see that my side piece, since it's only 6 foot, it has about 8-10 inches of lead of wire before it really starts on the garland. So I leave that exposed, so when I put my top piece on, it covers that. That way I can get away with just 3 6-foot pieces. You know, back when I was younger, you used to be able to find a lot more like 9-foot pieces of garland. That's harder to find, and they're really pricey too when you find good ones. So anymore, it seems 6 foot is a little bit more the standard of what we find. So we make do with what we can. Now that one I think needs to be twisted. Now obviously, once I get this out, I have to then refluff it, and that's what we're gonna go over too. Faux garland needs to be fluffed somewhat dramatically because it gets crunched together when it's stored. It doesn't always, you know, sit beautifully over the winter, so we have to find ways then to fluff it open. So first what I do is get it up here so I can see what I'm working with, which at first looks pretty haphazard. But honestly, once we're able to start manipulating it, I get it secured in all the places I want it, and then I can actually now start going through and hiding together the 2 pieces that come together, which you can see these 2 come together, and I hide the wires behind the back wires. And then what I'll start doing here is start fluffing this opening and kind of just start making it so it looks a little bit more natural. That sounds counterintuitive, and I totally understand that. But what you want to do is have it make sense where down the sides of the doors, it falls downwards and kind of sweeps out. And then across, you can decide which way you want it to somewhat lay and then open it up a bit more. You know, think of how real garland looks. You're not going to get the perfect look always, but the great thing about faux garland like this is you can use it year to year. You can manipulate it to fit perfectly with your needs, but also you can add embellishments to it as you want. You can add bows and ribbons, obviously, but you can also add pine cones. You can add like beautiful extras to it, even some berries or nuts and all those things. So whether it's indoor or outdoor, you can really make it look good. So I'm going to just start and finish kind of fluffing it up so you can really see when this is all done. I'm stepping to the side so you can see a little bit better. I'm not quite done yet, but we're getting, you can see here, there I am in the reflection, but you can see I'm starting to get a better shape going up and down the door. I'm getting it to lay more flat against the sides of the door, and then I'm able to start seeing where maybe I have it a little too thick, and I can start pushing that around too. Now, this isn't going to be the video probably where I show you all the finals of this. I will do a final walkthrough once we get closer into Christmas and I have all the lights ready and going. So on here I have C7 bulbs. I have, I believe, 2 strands of 25. So I think there's 50 C7 bulbs. I switched to these, and you can get LED ones of this now that are really nice. I switched to these because, well, back when I switched, it was before LED, and you have better luck with being able to replace these bulbs, which I like. It's also just because I think they showed up better. They have a little bit more of a nostalgic size to them, which I really like too. So that's why I started using them. I just thought they looked a lot more kind of just like homey and cozy, and I liked that. So I have in all of my doorways the same amount because each doorway is 3 strands total. Now it looks a little thicker here because that's where I bring that extra piece down. So I may need to just push that into the other one a little bit better. But you can see once you start manipulating it, you're able to really get it to fall nicely. And I really like the full look this one has. You know, the one thing with faux garlands, they're pricey, but real garland is too. So this one at least you can kind of depreciate in your head over a few years worth. Quite a few years, really. You know, I think it was just 3 years ago, my mom finally replaced the front porch garland from when I was growing up, and we decided it was around 25 years old. Granted, it did not look good close up, but driving by fast on the road, it looked great. And from the house indoors, it looked great. So I'm gonna go finish up around my other doorways to get all the garlands up, and then we'll talk about some of the extras. So I have the doorways done. I've placed around some of my silver metal orbs, a few of the wicker mushroom, and I have started getting out some of the topiaries I use like a tree. Now I want to show you, I use these year to year. So I like things that can almost last forever. These are metal garden topiaries meant for climbing things during the summer, maybe moonflower or hyacinth bean, anything, or just decorative. And I got them at my local garden center years ago. And I mostly use them now. I did use them for Mandevilla this year across the driveway. Over there's 3, you just can't see them. And then I put my squash topiaries, I filled them with squash during the fall. And now I'm gonna use those topiaries with lights on them to look like the shape of a tree over the Christmas season. So I like things that can have multiple uses because it's much more economical. And why buy something every year if you can just do that? So I'm gonna show you literally how simple it is with one that's right behind me. So for instance, this one under my kitchen window, it's taller, it's a 6-foot one. We're gonna work with a little bit shorter one back here. What I like is they have stakes in the bottom so they can go directly into soil. When it gets cold enough in the winter, that usually freezes and it makes them impossible to move, which I like. Now, there's no wind break on them, so the wind doesn't catch them, they stay either way. These are the size I use out by the road in my 2 urns I have on either side of the driveway. They're perfect to fit right inside the urn. You see I bent the tines at the bottom in just a little bit. And these also take 2 strands of 25 bulbs. So they're those C7 bulbs, and I point them all outwards, which for me is just like that perfect amount. And what I love about these is they have the clip on them. So you can literally just clip them to the trellis itself, which I find super simple. So that's what I use in a lot of my containers, which is why I love it, like right here, and you can just stick them in the ground. Otherwise, what I do is I put lights on different things. So I have some wicker mushrooms, and those I just have some older lights on. I think I did this a few years ago, so I'll be surprised if all these work, we'll see. And then I run extension cords to things like this. So I did put my wicker deer in a few different spots. So this is an antique water trough that I want to make into a fountain next year. What I'm gonna do though is have a couple of these deer by it, because it looks then like they're using it for its actual use. What I would love to do is fill it with silver orbs and maybe some lit up wicker orbs, just because I think it'd be a really fun pile in there. But as we come up, you're gonna see my coffee is here. I have another light up mushroom. So what I do at places where maybe it looks a little odd or awkward if it doesn't reach the bottom, I'll place something like a mushroom like this to hide that. So at each area, I usually have at least a plug-in I can get close to. So here, this will plug in directly to there, that's the outlet, with a timer. And I'll do that at every place I can. So I don't quite I put my extra piece of garland around this one up here, because I thought it would just kind of look nice. I have the 2 up here on my front porch, because I feel like they go with the sleigh that's over here. I feel like it looks like they're maybe all just kind of meandering after a little bit of a workout. So up here by the sleigh and by this door that has the garland around it, there is one outlet, and I will have a timer for that, and it will be plugged in right there. So I try to keep it close. I will probably put some type of light up tree in these 2 urns this year. They are the first year for these urns by the front door, so we'll see for sure what I put in, but you can see these orbs. I want to show you what I do with these orbs. It's not time for fresh greens, but I can go just cut a few to show you. So I thought we could finish up with showing a little bit. Now, I don't usually try to do fresh cut greens until about December, just because if we're not cold enough, they're going to turn brown way too early. Places don't even get them in until around Thanksgiving. But I do want to show you, just for this video, kind of how I do some simple things. So these are just metal gazing balls that I use at Christmas. I have a decent amount of them. And I like to put them in urns because it's an all-weather item that will last forever. They're steel. And they can just dress up and they look very seasonal because they're silver orbs. So they look like big ornaments or just beautiful pieces in urns. So these are urns I usually have planted maybe in the summer or that I just use at different places around. Now this is just pieces of arborvitae from some really an old arborvitae hedge I have. I cut sporadically so you never notice where I cut because they're massive trees across my driveway. But you don't always have to buy the most expensive greens. Now I love to start with a base of this, and then I will maybe purchase some noble fir, some princess pine, some boxwood even maybe, and just kind of intersperse it with little bits. But this alone, if you start putting this in around these orbs, if you look up here, look how simple and easy it is to dress them up and make them feel seasonal. We don't have to go out and buy numerous fresh cut greens every year. We don't have to buy all the pine cones. I reuse pine cones every year, big ones, like the sugar pine cones. I find that if you don't put them out in direct weather and put them under a covered porch, they last for quite a few years before they kind of degrade. So you can just use some maybe simple greens that are foraged from your yard. You know, if you have a small shrub, you don't want to use a lot of them, but if they're a big old shrub like I have, you can cut sporadically on it for just like a couple small containers and you'll never notice. Now over here, I do have a boxwood topiary that I had on my back patio all summer. I brought it up here because it can take the cold. It's in a container, so when we start getting really cold, and if we do in December get a polar kind of like blast, I'll take that into the garage. If not, I'll keep it out and keep it watered because it just looks nice and seasonal. I really should trim it up. It looks like it needs a bit. But this is now what you can see is a simple way just to dress up something and make it look really good. Now, I will even sometimes just put cuts of arborvitae around those topiary trees I'm going to put in containers too. So I try to reuse things I have, use things that I use in my garden year round, and just think of ways to dress them up. It's not about buying everything brand new. Other than the star this year. The star is new, and I am going to still try to show that to you. I think it looks so good here at night, but otherwise, just keep checking back. I will put all this together. It's too early to turn the lights on yet, but I'll put it all together and we'll do some final touches and I'll show you that in a video when you can see it lit up and see what it looks like. And I'll even show you at that point maybe some of the extension cords, but really the ones up here around the porch don't need extension cords. It's the ones out in the yard way out that maybe need a couple, but up here around the house, they're all pretty close to outlets. So until then, I hope you're maybe inspired to do a little bit of decorating while the weather's good. You don't have to turn the lights on yet, but if you get that stuff out and have a nice day to do it, you might as well enjoy it because we don't always get these nice days. This is my fun thing. This is what I enjoy. This is what I enjoy about the seasons, is being able to live out each one. So I hope you do too. Until then, get something to make you happy.